Hi guys, JP from FSiPanel. On that video, I will show you a new feature of FSiPanel Advanced Edition. This is the V1 cut or the takeoff training, where you will have a flight from Ibiza to Barcelona, and we will have random failure. Any failure can be thrown to you at any given speed before or after V1, so you don't know whether you have to abort the takeoff or continue. So we don't know at all what's going to happen. We don't know the speed, so it puts you really in the captain's seat for a check ride where you don't know really what's going to happen. Should you stop, then you will have the fire brigade to help you, and should you decide to continue the takeoff, ATC will provide you vectors and routing to fly back to Ibiza. All right, let's jump in the cockpit and I show you how you can do that. We will try one scenario together. Let's go in the cockpit. All right, here we are in our 737 cockpit. The only thing you have to do is to load your 737 in Ibiza on runway 24. And as you can see, I have nothing in my FMS, no routing, nothing in the MCP. That's the only thing you have to do. FSiPanel will set everything for us in less than a minute. We will do that very soon. I just want to talk a little bit about this new feature and how important trainings for takeoff training, decision making is so important in aviation. We tend to train landings and landings and landings. That's fine, but the takeoff roll is as well a very, very important and critical phase of the flight. So for that, we have a lot of exercise when we do type ratings. When I train pilots, especially the command upgrades, new candidate that become commander, then what we have as an issue is not really the flying, because these guys have been flying the aircraft for many years. They have thousands of hours on type, so they can fly raw data. They know how to fly single engine. There is no issue there. What is new for a training for a commander is the decision making. Decision making is where a bad decision can really affect the safety of the flight. So this is very, very critical on a takeoff. So on a takeoff roll, we have, of course, the V1. As you all know, V1 is the decision point where we have to continue the takeoff after that speed. So this is why the captain will remove his hands from the thrust lever as soon as he hears V1, so that we know we have now to take off the aircraft. We have to go airborne. Below V1, basically now the commander has the discretion to stop the takeoff, to abort the takeoff. We usually have another gate, which we call usually high speed energy or low speed energy reject, which is for some aircraft 80 knots, for other aircraft 100 knots. So the good thing to use is 100 knots as a general guidelines. So anything below 100 knots, you will not use a lot of brake energy. You will stop the aircraft quickly. For the passengers, the feeling will not be that bad. So usually what we do is, if you have any malfunctions below 80 or below 100 knots, we just reject the takeoff. That's it. No more thinking. We have a master light, master caution, master warning. We just stop. After this 100 knots, now this is where the decision making is very important. Now we are in a high energy takeoff where brake energy will be required to stop the aircraft. The brakes will be very hot. We might have a tire burst. The passengers might panic as the aircraft is traveling very fast, and suddenly we have full reversers, full braking, and we stop on the runway. So this is why we train those takeoff. When and how do you want to stop the aircraft? So for example, let's say we are taking off the 737 and we have that light here, which, let me check if I can put the test light on. I show you which one I mean. That anti-skid light comes on. So now we are, let's say, traveling at 130 knots, 10 knots below V1, and we have master caution anti-skid in up. So now this is where you have to think very quickly. What do you want to do? You want to stop the aircraft and maybe burst a tire, and without anti-skid, you might get off of the runway. So that's one reason where you will say continue and continue the takeoff. Let's say you have a door that open. Suddenly you get one of the door, leftover wing, aft entry, and you get master caution, and you see we have one door open and we are traveling 130 knots. Now you have to ask yourself, is it safer to get airborne, do a visual circuit, or get some vectors and come back and land? Or is it safer to abort with full energy, full reverses on the wet runway at or just before V1? So this is the kind of decision that are very, very critical, and you have no time to think. So this is why we drill and we do takeoff and takeoff and takeoff with new commanders. And on every simulator check ride, you will have a takeoff abort, and sometimes you have to decide whether you continue or not, and that can be debriefed. So it's not easy. So that's why I developed that feature to let you train. So that feature, you will get random failure. You can choose between light, moderate, or severe, and you can select all of them, just the severe, just the medium, just the light. It's up to you what you want. The speed will be random. It can be below V1, after V1. So for that, we don't know. So you never know if you're going to take off or if you're going to have to stop. If you stop, you will get the fire brigade. If you get airborne, then you will get ATC with you, giving you vectors to come back here in IBIZA. All right, enough talking. Let's load that scenario and we will fly it. All right, I just selected the scenario, and as you can see now, I can choose one or different levels of failures. So if you select, for example, light, you will get only light failures, where basically you might just get some information, or you might get a pack failure, for example, something required just a few actions from yourself. Moderate, something more interesting, where checklist work is required. That might be, let's say, a generator failure, electrical generator failure. And then you've got the severe, where it might be hydraulic leak, engine fire, engine failure, loss of the IRSs, for example, loss of both FMCs. So this is more severe. So if you want to have a complete random of all the three, you can select the three levels. If you say I would like only, for example, severe or moderate and severe, or only severe, it's up to you. And once you're ready, you click validate, and FSiPanel will prepare the cockpit. So let's go ahead. I will choose a severe one, and we will go ahead and see what happens. So click validate, and here we go. Now FSiPanel will prepare the cockpit, so you can see that now in real time. You can see the routing has been inserted. You can see that the QNH has been synchronized. Now FSiPanel is finishing everything, and we will get the takeoff clearance. So before we go airborne, we will do a takeoff brief, a correct takeoff briefing, and then we will go airborne. So we don't know what's going to happen. So here, FSiPanel is just setting the fuel and everything for us. And finally, this is what you get. Expect takeoff clearance shortly. I will say OK, and we just wait for the takeoff clearance, another 10 seconds or so, and then we do our takeoff briefing with my virtual first officer today, and we get airborne. Let's see what happens. Runway's wet, and here's the takeoff clearance.
FSiPanel 001, runway 24, cleared for takeoff.
Roger, clear for takeoff, runway 24, FSiPanel 001. All right, we have read back the takeoff clearance. Of course, now we should go, but here it's a training scenario, so no rush. Get ready for everything. The parking brake is set. FSiPanel can wait for 5 minutes, doesn't matter. Here, what you need to do is get ready for your training. Everything has been set. As you can see, we have the course, 241. We have the VOR set to IBIZA. We have the right frequency for the tower. This is the departure frequency. So basically, FSiPanel has set everything for you. Just make sure you're happy with that setting. Otherwise, change as you like. And when you're ready, go ahead. Here, I will do a takeoff briefing, so we clearly know what's happening. And after the takeoff briefing, then we will be departing. So let's go ahead and do the takeoff briefing. All right, are you ready for a takeoff brief?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so this will be a left-hand seat takeoff. In the event of malfunctions below V1, I will call stop or continue. If my call is stop, I will immediately and simultaneously disconnect the auto throttle, close the thrust levers, and extend the speed brake. Monitoring the auto brake, which is right now on RTO, and applying manual braking if required. Bearing in mind the wind direction in case of fire, today we have a wind slightly from the right, so please remind me to stop the aircraft in the wind in case we have a fire. Once the aircraft come to a complete stop, I will set the parking brake and I will call attention crew station on the PA. In case we have an overheat light or a fire, then I will carry out the memory actions on ground, and then we will assess the situation together. Should we need to evacuate the aircraft, then please read clearly the back page, evacuation, read and do. And if the evacuation is not required, then I will call on the PA, passengers remain seated, and then we will vacate the aircraft. We have to keep in mind that we might have very hot brake, as the aircraft is very heavy today and we are at the limit for the takeoff. So we have to keep that in mind. Please tell me your actions.
I will monitor your actions and call out emissions. I will call speed brake up and reversers normal. Call 60 knots. Select the flap lever to 40, pressurization mode selector to manual and outflow valve open. Once the parking brake is set, I will inform ATC and take further actions on your command.
Thank you very much. If my call is continue, then no actions below 400 feet except positive rate. Gear up, cancel any warning, any light, so we have a clean cockpit. At 400 feet, we will select a roll mode. In that case, LNAV is good for us as we have no obstacle here in IBIZA. Identify the failure, carry out memory items if applicable. Start the APU and inform ATC, please. Single engine acceleration altitude in IBIZA is 1,000 feet. So we can go 1,050 feet MSL and start the acceleration. No one engine out here, so we can just proceed on the SID. And weather is good. We have ILS approach runway 24, so we can fly back to IBIZA. Any question?
No questions, thank you.
All right, so now we are ready to go. So let's do the takeoff and see what happens. Runway is in good in front of us. Heading is synchronized. We have the takeoff clearance, so let's go ahead and take off. So brakes release, 40% N1. Wait for engine to stabilize. Here they are, and N1 toga, set takeoff thrust. Thrust set. $80 knots, check. Throttle hold. Stop. And we're braking. Cancel the bell and fire. So we park the aircraft to the wind to the right.
FSiPanel 001, copied. Fire brigade advised.
Parking brake set. Attention crew at station. Cabin crew inform. Okay, what do we have? Okay, we've got engine fire number 1 left, so we can proceed with the memory items for engine fire on ground. So thrust lever both close. Parking brake is set. Advise the cabin, this is done. Engine start lever affected side number 1 confirm off. Then the fire switch pull and rotate 1 fire extinguisher. Time check. So now we have about 30 seconds and see if the fire can get out. Otherwise we might have to evacuate the aircraft. We have a second bottle. Now Boeing has changed the procedures. After 1 bottle, then we have to assess the situation and decide whether to evacuate or to resume normal operation. Now we can see that luckily for us the light is off. So now we'll ask the fire brigade if everything looks fine outside. We have the fire brigade with us. Let's have a quick look. So as you can see now we've got the fire brigade all around the aircraft. The aircraft is stopped toward the wind. No signs of smoke or fire has been confirmed by the fire department, so we are good to continue. Now we might have very hot brake, so we have to keep in mind that the brake can be very hot, as you can see right there. Not all 73s have that information about flight control and brakes, so here we have it on that version. So you can see that we are in the amber, so we have to taxi the aircraft carefully, slowly. We don't want to use the brake anymore, we want to go slow. And monitor the brake and inform the fire brigade that we have hot brakes. So now this is another decision. Do you want to taxi the aircraft out here of the runway or wait for your brakes? Now again, that's another decision that you have to take. In that case here, I will taxi slowly. So I will first of all tell my cabin crew and passenger remain seated. So now they know that we have no emergency anymore, and I will inform the tower that we can taxi the aircraft to the gate. All right, that's the end of the scenario today. I wanted to show you how you can now train takeoff decision with FSiPanel. This feature is available on the PMDG 737, on the Maddog MD80, and as well on the Fenix A320. I hope you enjoyed that video, guys. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and if you have any question or comment, please drop it in the section down below, and I will be very happy to answer all your question and comment. Thank you for watching, and see you next time. Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.